The fact that I beat the prologue, I'm considering that a victory right now. That might be the only victory we get today. And that was a tutorial level. But you know what? That's still one more stage than I thought I'd beat. Rosenkreuzstilette, if my gringo German is worth anything, is Rosenkreuzstilette? This is a game that I bought at its Steam launch, which is about a decade after it actually came out, but I bought it as soon as it was available, along with its sequel, and proceeded to promptly never play them, because as exciting a game as this looked to me, it also terrified the pants off me. Pants removed out of sheer terror from this game. And not just because I had to attempt to pronounce the name of this game with the Deutsch skills of a toddler. No, this game looked awesome, but it also looked insanely difficult. Rosenkreuzstilette comes out of the gate with a very, very powerful mission statement, and that is this. Mega Man was a baby game for babies, and you're not a baby, so play the one with pretty magical girls that will absolutely stomp you into the dirt. This is a very, very rude game. It is mean, and I was terrified of it. And it wasn't until a Discord vote to play this for Mega Monday was I kind of put in a situation where I had to play it, because my Discord really wanted me to suffer. And yet, in spite of that, I am very, very thankful, because this game was definitely worth the time. Now, this game, interestingly, has a mode where you can totally skip the story, although I didn't, but I didn't pay much attention to it. The story itself features a girl named Spiritia, who is seemingly some kind of nun coming back from some sort of mission, presumably to convert the unwashed masses into believing whatever god she represents, only to find that her monastery is kinda on fire, and that her prize student has just been kidnapped by a dragon that will definitely not come back in the story in any way whatsoever, I promise you. Wink. Oh yeah, and her best friend is kind of leading the charge on this whole revolution. So now go fight 8 magical girls to prove that you are the prettiest magical girl of all, gain all their abilities, and go save your student and prove that your church and I guess God are the best? Maybe? I don't know. I wasn't paying too much attention to the story on this one, not gonna lie, because I was too focused on the gameplay, which is absolutely amazing. The best way I can describe this game is a structural combination of Mega Man 4 in terms of moveset and Mega Man 2 in terms of overall structure. Once you actually get out of the tutorial and into the proper game, you have to select one of 8 magical girls to go fight, and then promptly die a whole bunch. Yeah, this game's a bit tricky like that, but in the best way possible. We'll get back to this. Tia's moveset is definitely pretty much grabbed straight from Mega Man 4. Running, jumping, sliding, shooting, charge shots. There's even a quick swap for all the different Robot Master weapons you can get equipped to you, which there are 8, of course, as well as 2 support items you get for beating certain Robot Masters, like Item 1 and 2, in fact they're named that, but in German, as well as 1 secret final item, provided you can find it. And you definitely should find it, because it basically instant kills the final boss. I guess there's no way getting around it. I should probably talk about the difficulty in this game, because that was the thing that hit me harder than anything, aside from all the spikes I died to anyway, and the penultimate boss. Rosenkreuzstilette is a very, very punishing game. It's probably nothing but a dated meme at this point to say, but I believe this in the most genuine sense. This is effectively the Dark Souls of Mega Man games. And I mean that very genuinely. The first time I ever played Dark Souls, well, it was Demon Souls, but I remember that night very well because I spent all of it trying to clear the first actual level of the game. Now, part of that, of course, is that I'm bad, but the other part was, and I refused to leave the first level until at level 1, I killed the super boss of that game, because he's just there and I really wanted to. In both games, I died a whole lot, over and over and over and over again. And the difference between the enemy's power was so skewed out of proportion that it really should have frustrated me. It should have been impossible and I should have just given up. But I didn't, because they tuned the difficulty in such an amazing way. I was dying frequently in both of these games, and yet every single one of those deaths, I didn't feel disheartened. I didn't feel like this was impossible. I didn't feel like there's no way I can do this. Instead, with every single death, I felt more and more encouraged to go on. Sure, in Demon Souls it basically came down to me killing old King Doran because the AI in Demon Souls is absolutely garbage, and in Rosenkreuzstilette, I eventually figured out all the little tricks and secrets of every single area. The fact is, The difficulty was tuned in such a way that in spite of the fact I was dying way more times than I'd care to count, I went from someone at the start of a stream saying, there is a very real chance we will not be able to clear any stage in this game, to, like, it was happy to curb stomp me from the start, but it's been encouraging me every step of the way to get a little better and get this far, and I honestly didn't think I'd get this far, so you know what? Maybe we'll try and finish this next week. This is a game that absolutely terrified me, and yet while playing it, I got more and more confident despite the fact it kept pushing me down. This is a game that will kick you. It will kick you while you're down, it will proceed to kick sand in your face, and will continue to kick your teeth in, but it will offer you a hand and say, come on, you definitely can do this. I'm only kicking you because I know you're better than this. You just have to see it in yourself. Basically, Rosenkreuzstilette is an absolutely cruel and harsh mistress, but a loving one. Every single moment of this game was difficult, but it got easier, and it got more encouraging with every single loss. This was an amazing game difficulty-wise, and seeing every single level was awesome. The level layouts are absolutely beautiful, and if the game really is too hard for you, well, don't worry about it. I mean, this was literally the first stage I went to, and its stage concept is, quick men needed a lot more instant death lasers everywhere. And certainly that was the last stage I ever managed to finish, and even when I finished that, this was the boss that greeted me, and it terrified me. And the best thing about this stage is if you do have the weakness weapon of this Robot Master, well, it's just like Quick Man's, so you can slow her down and do half her health. Or you can use it on the lasers to get to her, but then you have no way of taking care of her. And spoilers, the bosses in this game can be real cruel. See, every single one of them actually has 2 phases. Once their health gets down to half, they kind of go crazy, and they're awesome, but unbelievably hard. So it might be better to, save that for the second half of this fight. But if you're having trouble with this, there are some easy ins. For example, there's one boss that is literally just Toadman in a pink wig, and it's just as easy as Toadman is. So you've already got an easy in for fighting bosses. And like the bosses, the levels themselves are very, very punishing for mistakes, but they're not stupidly made. You'll die a whole lot, sure, but there's not an entire level made exclusively of Yoku blocks or something incredibly dumb like that that just throws balance and difficulty out the window for something cheap. Now, every single death you have in these levels feels like it's your fault, because the fact is that the physics are spot on. This knockoff Mega Man game with a vaguely German name has better physics than some of the actual Mega Man games I've played in the past. This game also likes to be old school, so no saving in this game. Instead, you have to use a password. Fortunately, they're not overly complicated passwords, but if you're expecting an auto or even manual save, it's just not here, which is one of the few weird low points of this game. I feel like they could have probably added save slots and it would have probably been improved just from a quality of life perspective. The Robot Master weapons in this game are a lot of fun too. It feels like a greatest hits collection of all the Mega Man greats. You've got swords, you've got shields that are probably more wonky than they are useful. Classic Mega Man. Well, at least up until Junk Shield anyway, which is like the best ability ever. You have rapid fire attacks. You have a substantially better than Time Stopper. You have screen clearing explosions. You have bombs. You have charge attacks that might be the best thing ever because they're basically Metal Blade. Heck, there's even a Beat XP in this game. Yeah, this game understands how to make a cool array of Mega Man weapons, even if it is retreading basically everything Mega Man's already done. This game gets it. There are tricks and traps in every single stage, and the neat thing is that they're all themed appropriately to those stages. You've got an underwater stage, you've got an ice stage where there's annoying lasers that will definitely murder you. Heck, there's even a stage that's themed around being the biggest troll level ever, except because it's based in a game that's actually well balanced, it's not like stupidly made. So you can actually enjoy when the game tries to pull silliness on you to make you make the wrong decisions based on the information it's providing you. It's a troll level, but it's like the easiest one ever, and because of that you can actually kind of enjoy it. Heck, one of the bosses you fight is literally Bomberman. And then later on in the game there's actually a secret room which is a puzzle where you have to use their bombs to clear a Bomberman style room of soft blocks to get a free life. Which is a lot of extra work for one life, but I appreciate that that's there. That's cute, that's clever. this game does some pretty brilliant things. Every single level feels unique and it just feels fun to play, and it's exciting to see what every single stage is on about. None of the deaths you'll incur really feel like they're the game's fault. They always feel like you just didn't quite grasp what they need you to do to execute on it. And that really does ultimately feel like my point about what this game is in its core concept. Going back to the start, this game seems to think Mega Man was a baby game for babies. So what did it do? It took every single concept Mega Man had, distilled it to its purest experience, and then asked you to execute on it flawlessly. It's not an easy game. It is a challenging game, and it's one that will actively punish you over and over again. But it's one that will help you get back up and tell you to keep going. It's one that sees the potential for your own skills in this game and just asks you to see it within yourself. And it's one that's an absolute blast if you're willing to meet it on its level. Going back to my analogy to Dark Souls for a minute, the phrase "get good" was designed primarily as a sarcastic remark that people for whatever reason actually take seriously, and it's a whole thing, and that's really bloody depressing. But if I were to summarize all of Rosenkreuzstilette into a single 2-word phrase, it would be this: be better. This game will absolutely kick you. It will kick you while you're down, it'll kick sand in your face, and it will kick your teeth in. But it does so because it knows you can be better. And all it asks is that you see that in yourself, and that you try and act on it. When I beat this game, it honestly was a huge confidence boost, and as someone who has basically no self-confidence whatsoever, that was valuable to me. Knowing that I could take care of this terror of a game, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it, yeah, I really like this game a lot. Rosenkreuzstilette is not an intro Mega Man game, not by any means whatsoever. If this is your first Mega Man game, you are in for a lot of grief, but if you're gonna stick with it, you'll have a lot of fun. If you understand the basics of jumping and shooting, Rosenkreuzstilette will teach you how to be better, and to see that betterness within yourself. The overall presentation of Rosenkreuzstilette is by and large pretty top tier, although there are a few things I don't necessarily like. The backgrounds and the actual stage visuals are fantastic, but they clash with the characters, which are more sprite based, whereas those look more hand drawn and a lot smoother and cleaner. Because of this, your characters do actually pop, and you're less likely to not see an enemy or something because you have a relatively similar visual style to them that does clash with the backgrounds, but at the same time, it stands out and looks a little bit off. Like, these characters shouldn't exist in this world. Although the idea of basically turning Mega Man into Castlevania is definitely an aesthetic choice I approve of. There is one part about the visuals I will definitely criticize though, and that is for one specific boss, and maybe I'm just dumb, but I felt like it was conveying the wrong information to me. Spoilers for late game, but the penultimate boss fight at the end is basically kind of like Wily Machine from the end of Mega Man 2. And when you get to the second phase of it, I game overed on it so many times, and first of all, it's because there's so much going on the screen at once. But second of all is that I felt visually like the game was communicating the wrong information to me. When I fought this boss, I thought I was supposed to hit the glowy bits on the engine behind it. And that would be pretty challenging because you have to dodge a spike wall that's coming at you to do that. This information was further encouraged by the fact that when I hit it with its weakness, the Bomberman bombs, it did seem to do damage. Except it wasn't. The Bomberman bombs cut through the boss and hit its actual hitbox, which is in front of it. But the engines are glowing, which means your eyes are going to naturally travel towards it and be attracted to it. It just feels like this one boss was designed visually in such a way that it kind of communicates the wrong information. I was stuck on this boss for an hour, and what sucked even more is this is after the Robot Master refights, and if you game over here, you have to do those refights again, and it's a whole thing. So it really sucks that this one boss feels like it's just a little bit bad at what it's communicating, and very, very busy as to what's going on screen. One thing that really impressed me, and I mean, I saw it a lot, so it should, is every single level in this game has its own unique game over screen. Audio-wise, the soundtrack is tremendous. There's even some voice acting, which I'm not terribly of any strong opinion about, but you know, it's nice that it's there. And the presentation is just clean and very, very nice. Now, if you want a copy of Rosenkreuzstilette on Steam, it is available for $11. And that right there is worth it to me. It's also available with a bundle that I can't tell you how much it is because I own both parts of it, and I'm going to, at some point, have to talk about the sequel to this game, I guess. But you know what? This was kind of a transformative experience for me. You know, it gave me a lot of self-confidence, which is something I don't have, and that, to me, makes this game pretty valuable. This was a game that absolutely terrified me to go in and play, even though it was a game that looked absolutely awesome to me. And it is absolutely awesome, but it is difficult, it is punishing, it's not a beginner game. But if you're willing to give it a shot, I think this game will push you. It will push you a lot, but it pushes you because it knows you can be better. And I guess that's ultimately what I think the theme of this game to me is. And I think there's a big difference between the concept of get good and be better. Get good is a completely pointless, nonsensical, sarcastic remark people take way too seriously that doesn't actually acknowledge anything about the person playing it. Be better, the concept I see in this game, sees the greatness within you and knows you can do it, and it's there to encourage you to do it. You just have to be willing to take those steps. You might get knocked around a whole bunch, but you can do it. Okay. This game believes in you, a little bit, and so do I. That's a bit of a tiny weakness. That's ActRaiser. You know, I think I love this game. It's stupidly hard, but I kind of love it.